Hello and welcome to today's Battle Royale, Revit versus Revit Live. We are very pleased that you have taken the time to join us for this session. We hope that you find it interesting and of value to you. Just a few things to take note of. The session will be recorded. Should you have any questions during the session, please feel free to send us your questions in the chat box and we will attend to it as soon as possible. Just a short introduction to get started. I am Dominique Jordan, a strategic account manager within the architecture and in interior design industry, and I will be co-hosting the session today. I would like to introduce to you our presenter and host for the session, Michiel Orendal. Michiel is an application engineer within the architecture, engineering, and construction industry. I will now hand over to Michiel. Thank you, Michiel.
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to today's session. So just quickly, we always get some questions from our clients, and these are the typical ones I'm showing now, as to what can I do in Revit LT, what can't I do, is it for me, is it not for me? So yeah, this is kind of just like some of the questions we get, like Dominique mentioned. Please, if you want to pop another question on the technical aspects of elements, just pop it in the chat for us and we'll take it also from there. So today we're going to look at our battle royale. Now I decided to make it a theme-oriented one, looking at the Marvel's superheroes. Now, if I look at Revit, you got three disciplines that can ultimately use Revit. That's the MEP engineers, your architects and interiors, and then your structural teams. Now, Revit LT is really only focused on our architects and interiors. And the tools have been situated around those kind of groups of people. Now, what do I mean by that? Now, if I look at the ribbon of Revit LT, these are the tabs you have: architecture, structure, insert, annotate, site view, manage, and modify. Nothing fancy. Now, what you will notice is there's none of our systems tools that's oriented for our MEP guys. All the mechanical equipment, cable racking, piping, and things like that. And on the structure side, we've got way more features within the structure tab. We've got the steel and precast tabs available for those guys. These are just some native ones that comes with Revit. And for this reason, we can really see LT is meant for architects and interiors, a little bit of a smaller design tool at the end of the day. Now, to really start deep diving into kind of what the main difference is, and it's not really a deep dive, but these are like the 5 superheroes of Revit. Now, if any of these are topics that you like, we need this, then Revit might be the solution for you. However, it might not, and call it a deeper discussion is needed to understand. So I want to start off with collaboration. Now, we really need to understand what collaboration means within a realm of Revit and within a realm of a project. Now, when I talk about collaboration for Revit, it's not about collaborating with the other consultants. It's more of an in-house collaboration. So Revit has the capabilities of creating a central file, and multiple users can access that same project file at the same time. Effectively, 5-to-1 ratio, or 4-to-1, or 3-to-1 ratio. Where Revit LT is basically a 1-to-1. I access my file and then that's it. Revit also has the capabilities of creating this cloud work shared model, meaning same process as a server or local hosted one. Is my model sits in the cloud and multiple people can access it. Revit LT, you have the possibility of creating a cloud single user file, again 1-to-1 ratio. Now this typically starts asking the question, can I collaborate with someone that has full Revit if I have Revit LT? Now let's take a step back, as we need to also understand when I'm looking between 2 Revit LT files, yes, I can link them across. So I can see my colleague in the office file if he's doing a house and I'm doing the interior fit out. I can also, bring in another consultant's LT file into my project as links, and it all works kind of relatively the same. I can do the exact same workflow with someone that's working on a Revit file. I can link in that whole project. Maybe it's an architect and I'm the interior designer. I can bring in their big building and I can do my interior fit outs in Revit LT. There's no link discrimination, call it that. So effectively, you are able to collaborate with either consultants or in-house with different Revit project files. And then next, one of the big features in the Revit package is conceptual modeling. Now, this is really a powerhouse of tool sets that really allows you to customize and create advanced geometry for buildings, for furniture, for anything that is not available in Revit LT. So really one of the big items, if you do a lot of conceptual designs, you're doing really custom forms and shapes, then Revit might be the solution for you. Big topic is plugins. Now we use plugins on various tools, either for rendering, for automation, for integration with other software, whatever the case might be. Revit has an array of plugins you can install and run on top of it, where Revit LT has no plugin functionality. Your ribbon is your ribbon and that's it. You can't add anything to it. Now, this also includes Revit standard plugins, and this is looking at the likes of Dynamo, Generative Design, you've got Roombook, a lot of other Autodesk-based plugins for Revit. You can't load into the platform as well. And the next one is renderings. Now, Revit LT can render, but there is a big difference in how you render at the end of the day. One of the major ones is in Revit, you can do local renders, meaning it takes your machine's resources to produce your rendering. Where with Revit LT, you can only produce cloud renderings, and that would consume credits if you were to do your finalized rendering versions. Now, I'm actually a fan of cloud renderings, and a lot of my clients also likes to use cloud renderings on the fuller version of Revit and not just Revit LT, for the reason that I send off my rendering, it gets processed in the cloud. I don't have to wait for it for my machine to finish. And once it's done, I can just view it and I'm working in the same time while it's rendering out. But this is an important thing to understand. On top of this rendering plan is, because Enscape and Twinmotion, as being one of our questions, are kind of very reliant on plugins. It does become quite difficult to use Enscape with Revit LT, or actually impossible. And with Twinmotion, you do have to kind of navigate as a different export out of Revit LT. Then the last big superhero or superpower is view filters. Now, at the end of the day, view filters gives you that level of control over how you see geometry inside Revit. And this can control by elements. So ultimately, I might want to go in my example, change all my walls in my project to have a red cut pattern for council submission. Or even just the concrete should be green and the brickwork should be red. I can control that level of, I can have that level of control with Revit. Where with Revit LT, you do not have that functionality or capabilities. It's completely missing. So, on top of my 5 superheroes, any questions from anyone at this point? I don't see anything in the chat, so I don't know if guys have anything to quickly add to it. I'll give it just a second to see if anyone has anything popping up. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see a little bit of a technical stuff, please pop your questions in. I'm happy to open up Revit and Revit LT. It's already open if you want to see what I mean by any of the features I'm discussing throughout the process. Then, quickly going to go into a lightning round. So what I'm going to do in this next few slides is I'm going to talk about the feature and if it's in Revit or Revit LT, and if not. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit of a quicker workflow process. So first thing, point clouds. You cannot link a point cloud into Revit LT, but you can link a point cloud in your Revit, normal Revit, and open up that project in Revit LT, and the point cloud will be visible. It's a nice little hack. If you're running with scan data from consultants or other project members, and you don't have a Revit, but some of the consultants do, they can do this little setup for you, and then you can actually view the point cloud in your project. In-place families does not exist in Revit LT, and honestly, I don't like in-place families. I think it's a bad tool to use, but it does have its place. But something that comes with Revit LT is you can do in-place walls. Now, this is a nice little feature to have available, because this might alleviate some of your massing problems or conceptual modeling problems that you would like to do with Revit LT. Design options. Now, in principle, this tool allows you to iterate your designs in one project, and then end of the day, make it a primary decision and select one of those options, and all your other options is kind of discarded. And while this design option process, sitting with the client, going over what option you like, your production of your files can carry on going ahead. Now, this feature is not in Revit LT. So typically the workflow is, and I think most guys still do it, is no matter if you're in Revit or Revit LT, is basically they save out different Revit files for different options. And then based on that, they make a decision and then take that file forward, which typically runs into a little bit of a problem. If you took the wrong file and developed it further, then you have to kind of merge two files. And that's where design options kind of alleviates those problems. Publish models and sharing views. Now, this publish settings is something that came with the development of BIM 360 and being able to upload models into a cloud environment. And the shared views is recently new. I think it's about a version ago. So last year, they kind of launched it. This allows me to share a Revit file to the Autodesk viewer and be able to share that with a client. Now, this feature is in Revit LT. It just sits on a different tab. So it's within the Manage tab, and in Revit, it's within the Collaborate tab. Embedded schedules. Now, the core functionality of this is I can create a room schedule, and I can embed another schedule like a furniture schedule or a window or door schedule to see what elements are contained within my room. And this is kind of a nice little feature, especially if you're in the interior space and you want to control various information in different views. Now, this feature does not exist in Revit LT. It's really a single schedule concept in Revit LT. Managing links. Now, like I mentioned before, you can bring in a Revit link into your project. However, in Revit, you can control how you view that link, and you can control the element within that link. In Revit LT, you cannot do this. So your link is basically what it is and what it looks like. Now, for the guys that have Revit, and I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but you can actually copy paste geometry or furniture or families from a Revit link into your project. Now, you cannot do this with Revit LT. So again, your link is like a big block inside Revit, and if you need to edit it, you need to open up your that Revit links project file, and then edit the geometry and save it back in. And then some construction tools. So these are lesser known or lesser used tools in the wider industry. But ultimately, you've got two items: create parts and assembly views. And these features do not exist in Revit LT. It's really more geared for construction processes or high-end detailing and manipulation of geometry and data. And then some of the weirdest tools that I kind of always wonder why it's not in Revit LT is trusses, slanted columns. Now, you would think trusses should be in there. Everyone works with trusses, and even slanted columns reasonably being used. Now, the features or the tools aren't there, but it doesn't mean you can't use it. Now, you can recreate these items just using normal families and just load that in as different family types. You don't have to rely on these standard tool sets coming with Revit. And also, one of the last ones is the shape edit tool. Now, this just basically allows you to modify your floors, so push and pull corners, points, and things like that, to adjust what the floor ultimately looks like. Now, this does not exist in Revit LT. But traditionally, you can just use more traditional methods like 2D drafting techniques to indicate slopes, where the runoff should go to, and things like that within Revit LT. You don't have to use these tools. So that was a quick lightning round. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments on that. While you guys are typing it out, let's just quickly check if we did answer our questions at the end. So the difference between Revit and Revit LT, I think everyone has a core understanding of the differences. Can Enscape and Twinmotion be used as a plugin in Revit LT? In principle, no plugins can be operated in Revit LT, so no, we can't. Collaboration functionality, I did quickly showcase, how you could potentially do it. Will they be able to take a Revit LT model into Revit without any obstacle? Yes, I can open up a Revit file, link a Revit file into LT, it's not a problem. And then can structural and MEP engineers use Revit LT? At core, no, the tools won't really give them the functionality they need. Okay, now, I don't know if you guys have any questions. The chat feels a little bit quiet today. Does anyone want to see maybe the Revit LT user interface and navigation around it? If you do, just quickly say in the chat, yes. Okay, let's quickly just go have a look then. This is full Revit, and we can see the plugins at the top. And here's Revit LT. Leave my slab there. And you can basically get a good feel of what you would need. My different room types, my cut openings, I can place grid lines, datum levels, and typically all my standard families. If you even go and file create a new family, you'll also find all the standard template you would need to operate Revit. So nothing fancy or loss of information there. The family types are basically the same. Under the structure, like I mentioned, you've got isolated information, but the bulk of the modeling you need for smaller projects, you have your columns, you have structural floors, beams, and walls, and also your foundations. Those elements are quite there and nifty to use. Again, our linking methods are all basically standard, with the exception of point clouds not being able to link in. Just remember, if you guys weren't aware of this, but you can also link images and manage them as links and load additional families and things like that. Okay, under your annotate tools, you've got, it's a smaller ribbon than it is in Revit, but you still have your standard detailing components, your dimension styles, and even all your tags as what you would need it. You even have your keynote section, so you can still maintain a keynote structure if you ever need to have those. And then lastly, well, one of the last slide items I want to look at is our site. So normal topographies, you can create those without any concerns or hassles. As in Revit, this tab is called site, massing and site. And then you have your massing tool sitting here as well, which is missing in Revit LT. Your view filters, as per normal, nothing's really changed there, except for the functionality of rendering locally, but you do have the option to render in cloud. Now, what I do quickly want to showcase is you have the realistic view capabilities, which will use your material library, and there's nothing that's changed within the material library between Revit and Revit LT, so that will transfer as per normal. So you can go into a realistic view and still view your items. Now, again, this is not really a rendering view. This is more of a pre-render to just get a kind of a feel of what's happening. If you do need to render in the cloud, you would need to go to view, render, and then basically that'll prompt you through the process of rendering. Now, a little bit of a tip here. If you are using cloud renders, I can do rendering with 0 credits, meaning it won't cost me anything. And this is what we typically use for test renders. So we can send up, render it, see if our materials are correct or not. It doesn't cost us anything. And the moment we are happy with our setup, with what we need to do, we can go into a finalized render and it will start costing credits. And also you can increase your size of how much you want to render it by. And naturally, the bigger the size, the bigger the cost. So, but I always like this as a little bit of a tip, as you can do as much renderings with 3 credits, 0 credit cost, just to test and get your views correct. You also have options of doing still, panorama, stereo, and illuminate. So this options are still there within your normal Revit. And this is because it's based on cloud rendering. So it's quite a cool tool sitting there. And then under Manage tab, same as before. The big difference here is these 3 options: the Manage Models, Cloud Models, and the Shared Views. Now, Shared Views, it's a really nice nifty feature, and I would recommend everyone use it. It's basically you just submit your model to a viewer, and it'll open up in, I think I can open up this one, view in browser. Hopefully it loads now, nice. But basically this will open up a model in a viewer, and you can share this with a client and they can look at this model without you having to create fancy tools or buy different products. It's part of Revit. They can see basically how people can navigate around a model, and you got all these other tool sets that comes with it. What's nice about this is your client can also make comments, and you can have a discussion virtually with it. I think it's a great tool, especially during the times we are and everyone working remote. Naturally, if you need to sign in, but you can share this link with a client or anyone, and they can view these files.
Yes.
And then, yeah, that is basically it. The Modify tab is basically the Modify tab and nothing else to it. So Revit LT to me is quite a nice little tool for smaller scale projects, smaller offices. You don't have to go, it's not for everyone, but it does cater for a big industry and a big market of what most clients do. Yeah, I think you can do a lot with Revit LT, and especially for the price, it does come with a good viable solution for most of the clients out there or people out there in their jobs. Cool. Any other last questions or comments? I hope I covered everything for you guys. Okay, well, if there's nothing else.
Thank you so much, Michiel. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to attend this webinar. Please let us know if there are any other questions. We are happy to assist you. Thank you so much.